Hello everyone and welcome to another video setup tutorial. Today we're using the 60cm Blaze Advance 60cm Cree. I'm just going to go through some setup stages of how to configure your light and to set it up the way you want to set it for what type of coral you have. To start off, we have a couple buttons, two on the left hand side and some directional pad on the right hand side. The bottom left button is cancel or return. The top left button takes us to the modes, so you can siphon through all the different modes available. The bottom button always takes us back, so even if you go into something, you can go back. So on the right hand side, we have an enter button to enter into the mode that you want to get into, with an up or down arrow to change the different modes, and also across left and right to also go across to change other modes. So if you're in here and you want to save a mode, just remember that you always have to click this button, the middle one, to save a mode. If you click the back button on the left hand side, it will not save. Okay, so to start this off, let's get into the different modes. So on the display you see what mode selected. What I have is daily. It's showing that it's Monday, it's showing the time, and it's showing what time my sunrise is. Now this dims down if you leave it, as you can see, so you don't always see it. To your eyes, I can currently see it a little bit, but you can't see it on camera. So let's go to the top left button, what gets into the different modes. So let's go into the time. You enter this by pressing the enter button on the right hand in the middle of the directional pad. So here you select your day by going up and down. Let's set it back on Monday. There's your time. Once you've picked this, you will want to press enter. What's the right hand button in the middle of the directional pad again? That'll set the time. Now if we use the top left mode button again, you'll see that we can go through all the different modes. There's lots to choose from, so let's just go from the basic setup first. So we'll go past time to sunrise. So this is the time that you want the sun to come up. So this will start the start of your program P1 or P2 mode, or possibly S1, S2, S3, depending on what you want to start with. So I have mine set at 10 o'clock. So we'll enter that in. Let's go to a different mode again. So we'll go to the daylight period. What is your photo period? So that depends how long it takes to do the set of schedule of what photo period you want. So I've got mine set on 11 hours. Let's go to the next mode, daily mode. So you can pick what you want your daily mode to be, either P1, P2, a fixed table. What a fixed table means that it is a constant wattage for the whole period. So I'll leave mine back on my P2, what I've set up. This is also where you select P2 and lightning. So just remember, if you do want to put lightning in on your schedule, it has to be on the P2. So I'll go back to P2. You can also select your weekly mode if you want to do different weekly modes that change around all the time. I don't do that, I just have a daily mode, but feel free to set that up. And then you've got your manual settings. Now this is where you set up all your modes. So you enter into here, you can see how you've got P1, P2, S1, S2, S3. Now S1, S2 and S3 are already pre-set up and pre-configured, so you can't change those. You also configure your moonlight on here. This is the moonlight settings I use. So I use white 0, UV and purple 5, blue at 5, and an overall dim of 0. So this is very, very dark, and you can't see it in the video, but you can see it at night when all the room lights are off. So let's get back out of that. So let's go back. So we'll go back into, so as you can see, we're back in the manual setting. Let's hit enter again. This is where you configured P1, P2. So let's have a look at P1, what I've set up for SPS. So up the top left is what mode it is. Next to that it says W, what stands for white, B, what stands for blue, UV, what is UV and purple, what is UV and purple LEDs, and then to the bottom right hand corner is the overall dim. So it's at 10, and the top right is the stage of the mode. So as I go up, you can see that the light's changing because I have lots of different stages built into my schedule. So you can have a different overall dim to the individual dimming as well. So say you have all of them at 255, what's the maximum level for each LED type? So let's just put the whites up as an example. So you can see the whites increasing now, increasing. And now, even though that's at 255, that's not the maximum level that that white could be, because the overall dim is only 30. So let's pump this up and you can see what I mean. So now it's at maximum, what, 63? Okay, so let's go back so I don't save that. Back into P1. So I start off on 20/10 overall dim. This is really just light blue. You can barely see it in the camera, but you can see it in person. So it's starting to ramp up the blues and the UVs and the purples at 40 and 40. White is still at 0. As you can see, it's starting to go through the stages. Slowly ramps up. Then it ramps up and stays at maximum power for a little while, and it starts ramping back down. So that period of this 19 periods of light is done over however long, how many hours you set as your photo period. So if you set 19-hour photo period, that's going to take 19 hours to do that, as an example. So it depends how you want to spread it out. I don't care how long each one is. I've just worked it out by, I want full power for a couple of hours in the day. So let's go back to P2. So this is one I use for LPS and softies. It's got a lot less white light. So as you can see, it's already heavily into the blues and purples. It's ramping up. It's ramping up. Whites are still only at 75 out of 255. Whites are now at 80. Now it's starting to ramp back down. As you can see, it's very blue, but it works really well for LPS and keeps the corals looking good. Also keeps algae to a minimal if you're heavy feeding for LPS corals. So let's just go back into S1. As you can see, it's just a pre-configured. It does dim up and dim down, but you know, it's not automatic. Not controllable like how the P1 and P2 is. I don't use those modes. Next we have the lighting cycle. So this is where you pick if you want to run on daily or weekly. So I told you before I would run on daily, just because it doesn't bother me that I have the same light cycle every day. Let's go to the next mode. This is where you select your moonlight on or off. So I always have moonlight on. Helps me see around my house in the dark. Rapid display. Now this is where you can preview your different levels. So as we'll rapid display P1, just to give an example, you click the enter button in between the directional pad to preview it. It'll just go through the stages and ramp it up and down quickly so you can see what's going on. So it'll ramp back down now. Just gives you a quick preview of what the day's going to look like in a matter of seconds. So when you're playing with it, you can use that mode to preview it. So here we got P2. So we'll give that a preview. It's going through the modes. As you can tell, P2 is a lot bluer just because I like that color temperature for my LPS. So it'll start ramping back down now. Here we go, that's done. So let's go to P2 and lightning. So this will do a lightning preview. I don't personally use it, but some people do like to use it. I don't find that it is really necessary. It's more just to show off to your friends when they're looking at your tank. So now, what do we got? You can also restore back to factory settings if you do change something you don't like. I'm just going to quickly show you the lightning and the preview of P1 and P2 with a better tank view. So I'll start off with the P1 preview. So this is the P1 preview. You can see it slowly ramping up through the colours. and how it looks. So you'd use this mode for SPS because you've got a lot more white light with a lot more par. So you can see it ramping down now. You don't have to have it come back to a white light. You can put more blue in that, but that's just how I had it set for the mode. So now I'm previewing the P2 mode, what I use for my own personal LPS. This is the mode this is how I've configured the mode. It's very blue, very purple, minimal white, and I've had great growth with this mode. I've been using it for a long time now, roughly over 2 years with LPS corals and the likes under it. And this is P2 with lightning. Thanks for watching. This is roughly what the moonlight looks to your eye in the dark room with the settings that I used previously. As you can see, it's a very faint, nice, dim light. It's not distracting for the fish. They still sleep and hide like usual, and it's not too bright for your house either, but I wouldn't recommend it in a dark room that you want to sleep in, like a bedroom. So I think it's great in my living room because it lights it up just enough to be able to see in the dark, but it's not intruding, so yeah.